My parents didn't exactly come together because of roses and magical love story. The Lord kind of set a story for them with decisions that they made, and they found that they were pregnant with me, and then they got married. And so that kind of set a dynamic for a relationship that wasn't exactly a marriage that was founded on like love and like desire to be together. They ended up having 3 more kids. I grew up a firehouse daughter, and my mom would literally pack us all up at the end of the day in our jammies and take us to the firehouse, say goodnight to our dad, and that's literally when we saw him for the day. So it was kind of dysfunctional in that respect. My dad wasn't always present. He didn't really do a lot of things with us. He never came to any of our games. My mom was always there. While my mom kept Christ in the home and like kept us in church, my dad wasn't a part of it. So you had families with moms and dads, and then there was Sarah and her daughters. Then once I started driving, I would drive my sisters every Sunday that I was able to. So it shifted a lot and a little bit, I guess. Like the foundation was there, which, you know, from being very young, but then as I got older, it just got a little bit different. You know, we got older, life started to happen more for us. We were exposed to things a little more, we're aware of more things. My mom started working, so it was a gradual shift for us. I was driving home on 270. I hit the wall, the airbags didn't go off, my face dented in the steering wheel, there was so much blood, they were afraid of internal damage, but I walked with only a broken nose. Shortly after that, less than 2 weeks later, a friend that I'd grown up with, who was an outspoken believer of Christ, he was my age, he actually was helping lead the youth group at his church. He died in a car accident. And I remember going to his funeral, and I remember sitting there and hearing all these really great things about Sean, and like, he was outspoken, he was living for you, Jesus, and I had started to walk away, and I wasn't living for you, I was living for myself, essentially. I remember leaving the service and going in the bathroom and like feeling like I was just gonna like vomit everywhere. And I remember standing there still going like, God, why did Sean die? Like, why did I just walk away with a broken nose, you know? Like sometimes people look at that and they're like, whoa, I'm gonna live for Jesus and shout out his goodness, you know? Like Sean died, so I'm gonna carry on what Sean was doing. And people do sometimes respond that way, but I didn't. I responded the complete opposite. I remember one weekend going to JMU, waking up, going to work, going home and going to Staten Island for a party at a college, coming home, going back to work, and doing it all over again. I mean, I was just blocking out the world and just living for Kristina at that moment. And I remember opening the door, my mom, split level house. I was in the basement, so she was at the top of the stairs, and I can see her she's a tiny little person, my mom, and sitting at the top of the stairs, and her just being like, I don't know why, but I love you. And I remember being like so drunk, I still don't even know how I got home. And I just looked at her and went straight downstairs. I mean, those were the things that I was doing. And I was shutting everybody out and living for myself. My now husband, Jamal, who actually went to high school with, he actually ended up going to play football in North Carolina for a college. And then for his own personal reasons, some injuries and stuff, he ended up coming home. So we started hanging out, and the person he is today was the person he was then, but we were still making really bad decisions. And so within 2 months of him coming home, I found out I was pregnant. When Isaiah was born, I came home about 2 days later, still living at home. My dad was there. My mom told me he was in his room, and I walked into his room, and it was dark, and the TV was on. He was on the edge of the bed because he knew I was coming. But he was still kind of shutting out the world almost. It was very dark in there, and I remember staying down next to him and going like, here he is. And my dad didn't want to look at him. He didn't touch him. He wanted nothing to do with it. There was like no conversation whatsoever. So sometimes I can imagine as if like my dad was here and I was here and Jesus was here, and he was like rubbing my shoulder like, it's gotta be okay. You know, let's go now. I'll take you into the other room, you know, just to chill out. You know, so it's like kind of imagine like God just was like, let's go. It's okay. Your dad will love you, and I will redeem this for you. It doesn't look the way you want it to look. Like I wanted my dad like, oh my gosh. But he did it, and that's okay. Because what ends up happening is in that brokenness, that story now, almost 11 years later, it is amazing. We got married in a courthouse. There was no magical flowers and displays and photographers. My dad wasn't there. He chose not to be there. He wasn't happy with me getting married. He obviously wasn't happy with me getting pregnant. I turned on the radio and I turned on that station, and Casting Crowns, Praise You in the Storm came on. And I just remember like breaking down, like, oh my gosh, like I'm not praising you in this. Like I'm finding the bad in all of it and still not seeing the good and going, yeah, it's really ugly, but oh man, is it going to be really good? And even if it's not the goodness that I want it to be, it's going to work out for his glory. Jesus is redemption. Jesus was sent to live a life where he knew he would be broken so that I would be redeemed. I mean, I don't deserve that redemption. Like I made terrible decisions. I wake up and I'm sometimes mean to my husband. I wake up and I yell at my kids. And yet every day I am still redeemed. And it is all because of the cross. It is all because of that God sending his son. Isaiah and my dad are like, my dad talks to Isaiah more than he talks to me now. I mean, he talks to my husband more than he talks to me. The joke with my sisters and I is, have you talked to Isaiah or Jamal to know what dad's doing? You know, my dad, we always joke also that if we got married again, my dad wouldn't walk me down the aisle. He'd walk Jamal down the aisle. I mean, my dad adores my husband. He adores my children. I mean, like I said to you, 11 years ago, I couldn't see that it was possible. It's only possible because of God.